Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Akhlaq, which is the good conduct, it's one complete system. And we cannot just pick and choose. And the source of our akhlaq is divine. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we are not the one just to choose what we consider as khuluq and high moral. And if you left it for the human, they will mess up. Even sometimes they have good intention, but they end up to have a bad result. Or sometimes they have bad intention from the beginning. And unfortunately, we lived in a time that we used to praise non-Muslims how they have good akhlaq, and said, you know what, we have seen Muslims but not Islam when we come in the West, and we saw Islam not in Muslims in it comes in the Middle East or in the Muslim areas, which is not true. Because we narrow the meaning of akhlaq and the way how we interact and dealing. That's kind of ethics, where common, respect, and you will see that. And people here, it's not because of the way how they grow up, many of them, not because of that. If they were left for their choices, you will see the corruption. When one time they have the blackout, would run out of the electricity, the level of crimes increase, stealing and all bad things. There's no camera system, no any of that. And the opposite will happen, in the Muslim countries. Even the corrupted ones, when the time of calamities, they will even help others. Those that are part of gangs, they will help others. Not the opposite. They will go back to their fitrah and they will stop their corruption. Is that right? Yes. So that's what tells you what's inside of people. And when the Prophet ﷺ came in a society, yes, was not civilized, but they have a lot of morals. And that's why he didn't say, I came to establish the akhlaq. What he said? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ أو صالح الأخلاق. I was sent to perfect the manners. So they have manners, they have akhlaq. Wallahi, they have akhlaq in there. When ayah revealed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to those they give a covenant to the Prophet وَلَا يَزْنِينَ, they should not commit fornication or adultery. Hind ibn Utbah made a comment about this. He said, أَوَ تَزْنِي الْحُرَّةِ, how come that a free woman will commit such an act? That was not in their society. Even those they have that immoral and bad behavior, that was not among even the common people. They were like among some of those he called Ashabu Rayat al-Humr, some of those that are bad in the society and being excluded anyway. When Hiraqal asked Abu Sufyan, and at the time he was not a Muslim, he asked him about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, who's the closest one to the one claimed that he's a prophet? He said, I am. And he was at the time. And he said to him, come closer. And he asked others to come and stand behind him. And he told them, if he lie, then tell me. So Abu Sufyan, he said, by Allah, I couldn't even lie once in him. He couldn't. That was his enemy. And he asked and he gave the right answer. There's no such lies. And by the way, Allah never talked about munafiqeen except when the ayat of Medina that revealed. Because when there are other tribes, they mingle with them, that's a nifaq started. There is no such nifaq for the first 13 years. And that's actually the reason why they don't want to say La ilaha illallah. Because of their knowledge, not because of their ignorance. They don't want to say La ilaha illallah because they know if they said La ilaha illallah, they have to change. Because they have a knowledge. They know that La ilaha illallah required many other things. So La ilaha illallah, if they said it, they will keep up that word. So that's why they don't want to say it. Because it's not just a word. It's a whole system. So they have akhlaq. Do you know what? Even when they love drinking alcohol, not because of alcohol itself, because the khamr, alcohol, will make the coward person courageous. And they love the courage. And it'll make the stingy person generous. And they love generosity. And that's why they love khamr, and they name the source of khamr, which is inab, the grape, karm. And the Prophet said to them, no, do not name it. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُ الْكَرْمُ. Do not name it, that's karm. Mu'min is karm, the source of generosity. Even the fight among each other, that was uncivilized behavior, where they want to support each other. You come ask for help, I will go with you, regardless. But Islam told them, no. Do not support your brother unless he was oppressed. انصر أخاك ظالما أو مظلوما قالوا كيف نصرناه مظلوما فكيف ننصره ظالما قال ردوا عن ظلمه. So Rasulullah explained to them how you help each other when somebody being oppressed. Now when he was oppressor, so he adjusted their akhlaq. And that's why in very short period of time, they ruled the whole universe at that time. In very short period of time. At the time of Sayyidina Umar, they were in India. They were in North Africa. At the time of Sayyidina Uthman, they were even at the border of France. It's just less than 20 years after the Prophet ﷺ passed away. Can you imagine? And why is that? Because they were ready. They need just a discipline. They need adjustment. And they have a lot morals. And I don't want to compare with our society nowadays. When they say there's akhlaq. This is just on the surface. But when you go deep, no akhlaq, no shame, no haya, no modesty, no real material for the human. They will smile in your face, and Allah knows what's in their heart. They are cursing you, and they are like what they're saying. Because they afraid from the law, if they said a word, where they being maybe criminalized of a hate crime or whatever. So, we have to understand the source of akhlaq is the deen. And the akhlaq comes from the teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If somebody just have a nice way to deal with you, say, oh, that's a khuluq. They say, they have everything except the shahada. If they said the shahada, they will be the best. Shahada? What do you mean except the shahada? Shahada is everything. Shahada everything. That's the most important thing. And I will conclude my talk with a statement of Sayyidina Umar. I'll listen carefully. He said, تنقضي عرى الإسلام عروة بعد عروة إذا نشأ في الإسلام من لا يعرف أمر الجاهلية. It's very powerful word. He said the pillars of Islam, the Ura al-Islam, the main concept of our deen would be one after one, would be dropped one after one, would be cancelled or would be neglected one after one. So the main principle and moral of Islam will be neglected one after one. When the people grow in Islam without knowing what was there at the time of a pre-Islamic era, at the time of the revelation. In other words, the moral that Islam brought would be neglected when the people they didn't know what used to be at the time of revelation. In other words, all of that doesn't make, for people, it doesn't make sense, or they didn't understand the value of it if they didn't know why Islam came for. If they didn't know why Islam came and what's the things that Islam work for it to change it. Why I'm saying that? Because many of those things that Islam came to change it and to ask us to adapt the new rules and new morals still exist among us. It still exists among Muslims. As if they didn't know why even the Prophet came. For what reason he came. He came to change it. But it's still within us, Muslims. And that's why if we not changing all of that, we live in a time very similar to the time of Jahiliyyah. And you've seen that. So we have to understand why the Prophet came. He didn't came in a society that's full of sin and full of problems. No, no, no. But it's a society that's in need discipline. And that's why we have issues. Because we went back to that society. May Allah protect us. Akhlaq is a whole system. We cannot pick and choose. And the source of our akhlaq is defined from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's go back to the teaching of our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma ahyina al-Qur'ani wa sunnah wa mitna al-Qur'ani wa sunnah. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.